This video is going to take you through how to find an inverse matrix, which is very important for solving. First, I just want to recall what an identity matrix is. This will be the key for why an inverse matrix is important. So it's a square matrix. Usually I like to label it with I, like M for matrix, I for identity matrix. With ones in the main diagonal. And zeros as the other elements. We previously looked at if you multiply something by the identity matrix, as long as it's in the right order, you get back that same matrix. We're going to focus in on the 2 by 2 and 3 by 3. So main diagonal again, top left to bottom right. The important thing when we're finding an inverse is that if you multiply a matrix by its inverse, you're going to get the identity, and vice versa. Why is this important for solving? Well, when we're solving for a variable, let's say we had 3x equals 15, your goal in that problem is to get 1x. Now, our goal is to get the identity matrix instead of that 1. So the identity matrix is the equivalent of getting a 1 coefficient in a regular equation. We're not at the point where we're going to solve equations yet, but we're going to just look at how to find the inverse today. All right, so let's start with the 2 by 2. This is the one that we're going to do by hand. All right, so if we have this 2 by 2 matrix, and the other important thing is our determinant can't be 0. Remember, the determinant is denoted by the what looks like your absolute value symbols. And the inverse is going to look like the following. So what are we doing here? We're switching the A and the D. So there's a lot of switching going on. We're switching the placement of A and D, and we're changing the signs of B and C. The other key thing is we're multiplying that entire thing by 1 over the determinant, so the AD minus BC. Let's take a look at an example. So first thing you want to do is find the determinant. Then we're going to use that to find our inverse. So our inverse is going to be 1 over the determinant. You're going to switch the location of the 4 and the negative 1. That's considered your main diagonal. And then you're just going to change the signs of the other two values, so negative 3 and 2. Usually if I'm solving an equation, I don't multiply in the 1/2, but if we're just asking you to find the inverse, you're going to want to distribute in that scalar. All right, so that is your inverse. Now, if I'm just asking you to find the inverse, you're done. There is a part that you're going to be working on in the practice where you have to check to see if two things are inverses. So we can check this by multiplying the two together. The order actually does not matter for this since they are square matrices, and it should come out to 1, 0, 0, 1 anyway. So if we're doing this by hand, because this is the time where we're going to be looking at this, 4 times negative 1/2 is negative 2. Plus 3 times 1, that's going to come out to 1. Next, we're doing 4 times negative 3 over 2. That's going to give us negative 6. And then plus 6, which will give you 0. Negative 2 times negative 1/2, positive 1. Negative 1 times 1, negative 1. Also 0. And then finally, our last part, we're going to get positive 3 minus 2. Also 1. So it's a good way to check it. You don't have to do this unless you're given two matrices and you have to decide if they are inverses. All right, one more quick example with the 2 by 2 to see when an inverse would not exist, and then we'll do a 3 by 3 with the calculator. So our determinant, in this case, is going to be 24 minus 24, which equals 0. That's no good because if we start to do the inverse, it's undefined. So you can stop once you get 0 for the determinant. If your determinant is 0, then there is no inverse. All right, last thing, I know this video is getting a little bit long. I'm going to show you in this video is how to find your inverse of a 3 by 3. This is going to involve using your calculator. right, so we're going to go right into putting this in the calculator. We're going to do alpha zoom. I already have mine set on a 3x3. If you don't, make sure you change yours. Type in the matrix. Just double check after you've done that you didn't mistype something in. Now, the greatest thing is that the button we need is the same button you would use to get to the matrix screen. We want to do the inverse, which is the -1 button. So you're just going to hit the x to the -1 button. Puts that little thing on top, and that will find the inverse for us. We are going to want to put it back in fraction form if you get decimals, so I'm going to hit enter. Notice it gives you some crazy decimals. Remember, to put things in fraction form, you can hit math. And then fraction's the first one, hit enter twice. And it puts your result back in fraction form. So you would record that as your inverse. All right, that concludes the video. If you have to go back to look at anything, that's fine. Hopefully you pause it when you needed to in the middle. You will either work on practice right after this or practice in class the next day.